Okay. All right, I've got 1:33, so we'll go ahead and get the meeting called to order. First thing on the agenda is the consideration of the minutes of the April 15th, 2025 meeting. We have a motion to approve. Holder. And a second. So, okay, Sandy. All in favor? All opposed? It's passed. All right, this afternoon, we are going to have a presentation by Mary Boutain from the American Red Cross. They wanted to come in and tell us a few things about what they can do for us during disasters. So Mary, if you'd like to step on up.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think I've been trying to come to your last two meetings, right? But we had, I don't know, was it the flood was one of them? And then I think we had a tornadoes. And then we had a multifamily fire that took me to Connorsville this day a couple of months ago. So I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get here. We've been really trying to do this. This is Helen Caves. She's handing out just kind of a list of our service delivery methods. And we'll go over that. Helen is our lead health services volunteer in our chapter. The Red Cross kind of splits up the work in different areas. So we have a Southeast chapter, a Southwest chapter, an Indy chapter, a Northeast and a Northwest here in Indiana. And sometimes we cover a few counties in Ohio, we cover a few in Kentucky, et cetera. So we're in the Southeast chapter. There's 25 counties. We have 3 staff members and a whole bunch of volunteers that help us respond to disasters. And unfortunately, it's been a very busy spring. And we've been here. But I thought I'd go through this list to just kind of give you an idea of what we do. This list is in alphabetical order and not particularly in the order that these might actually happen. But let's say this is LEPC, so you might have some kind of accident or something. You might have an evacuation that you need to do. And so we could help you with volunteers to staff like a welcome center or an information center as people, if you have to evacuate a neighborhood or you have to clear a neighborhood or not let people back in or something. Having an information center or reception center allows people an opportunity, a safe place to go and a good place to get information so that Dennis or somebody else can go there and give direct information to clients who are waiting. Should you need to open up a shelter, we could also open up a shelter for you. Like we did during the floods, we brought in a shelter trailer that had cots and blankets and, sort of basic paperwork and things. And then we can open up a shelter and staff that shelter for however long you might need to have that evacuation. When there's a shelter, there's feeding, so we always bring in food to assist with that. If there would need to be community feeding because there's a neighborhood that maybe has been affected like by a tornado or flooding and people are out and about cleaning up and you feel like there's a need for community feeding, we can bring in our emergency response vehicles, which I like to call the Red Cross food truck, and just bring in hot meals for community feeding. Especially if power's out or, things like that, we can provide some hot meals. We also do distribution of emergency supplies. So I think we did that some in the flooding too, where we brought cleanup kits. We can bring rakes, shovels, totes, different kinds of things. We work with the emergency manager and you all about what you're seeing, what are the needs, what do people need to have to help them get back on their feet and do those kinds of things. When we're opening up a shelter, we always offer, around the clock, we have at least 2 people in the building at all times. Our shifts usually go 7A to 7P and then 7P to 7A. So we always have staff there. So there's always somebody awake in the shelter at all times. And then we also like to offer health services like Helen Disaster Health Services. We have people who have an active degree or an active license in nursing, they're EMTs, they're physicians, they're nurse practitioners or whatever. And they help people with health services needs. So that might be making sure they have their medications. In an evacuation situation, maybe they weren't able to get to their home to get their medications, or they weren't able to get to their medications to bring them with them. So maybe health services might help them get a few extra, blood pressure pills or something like that from their pharmacy so that they can, keep on their medications that they need to have. Also help replace assistive devices or different things like that.
People with disabilities, that have lost walkers, that have lost cane,
Mhm.
things like that. We can replace things like that. Things that people need to exist.
Yeah.
We try to get these things.
Right. We've got a great health services team and they really do help. We don't want people to lose, health status. We don't want people's health status to go down as a result of a disaster. So we're really trying to help them have what they need to do that. We also have mental health workers that we can bring in that can talk to people and just kind of help them get through the stress of, this disaster, as well as spiritual care folks. We also have spiritual care volunteers. Oh, and reunification. In a situation, unfortunately, I'm sure we're all watching the news of what's going on in Texas. Reunification, when people have been separated from each other, we have a way to help people communicate with each other and find each other, and we help track people down for them. So reunification is another service that we can offer in a larger scale disaster usually. Client care is how we help people move forward from the disaster. So if we have a shelter open for multiple days, or maybe they've lost their home or something in a disaster, what's next? And so that client care person is going to be that sort of recovery social worker type of and helping them find other resources in the community, connect to other nonprofits or organizations, township trustee that might be able to help them with other resources. And I think the only other person or team here is our disaster action team that's listed here on the service delivery. Our disaster action team are volunteers that go out and help people in a disaster like a single family fire, like a home fire. Or they also come to multifamily fires and they help kind of talk with those individuals. But if it's like a single home fire, they'll talk with the family, see what they need, help them have a few resources. And then they may be able to give them a little bit of money to help them get through the next couple of days. And they can use it for a hotel voucher. They could use it to buy some clothes that don't smell like smoke or whatever it is they want to use it for. So we work with the local fire departments. We hope that they call us all the time when there's a home fire and people are displaced from that fire, because we can help them with all of the things I just talked about. Health services, mental health, spiritual care, they're all going to be connected through this client care worker to get them the additional resources and services that they need. And Helen mentioned disability integration. That's something that we make sure that our shelter spaces are accessible to everyone, and what we need to do in order to get somebody into an accessible shower, or it might, if the place doesn't have that, then where can we go so that they can have access to that? So I think that might be everything that's on my little list there, but what kind of questions do you have about the Red Cross?
How do you set up the reuniting of families?
How do we set up the reunification?
Yeah.
There's a whole team that can be brought in that can do that. We do always get like the permission from the person that it's okay to share their information and their whereabouts with this person who's called in looking for them. But a lot of times a family member might call 1-800 Red Cross and say that they're looking for somebody. And so then we get them attached to the people down here or, you know, in the community, and then make sure that we have permission to share that information, and then we connect them. Does that answer your question? Not, yeah. What other questions do you have about? I have to say, I don't know a lot about reunification because I personally haven't been involved in a disaster where there's been a lot of that happening, but we have people that are trained in Indiana that can set up these types of reunification.
2008, when the flooding,
Yes.
we had the flooding, you guys
Yes.
prayed about.
Okay, good.
The
With the reunification, when the usually involved disaster, you have people at the hospital, those people that can help.
Right,
Have people that is working. DNA, people, so the people, in multiple different areas that feed information into the main database. And that way it makes it easier to match up names, and like Mary said, somebody may be looking for something they don't want to find, so if they say, we can't share that, we can't share. So everything that we're getting is private. We have had about the same thing at the hospital, we can't share any information that's outside of that.
right. So like in a mass casualty situation, reunification would be engaged. And there would be a process that would be engaged because people will be looking for their loved ones. Great question. Who else is good? These are my friends over in the health department.
I mean, usually we would set up what, like at the high school or somewhere like that, a big place, like with this flooding, they brought all the children to the high school, they made sure that they were medically checked, and then it was the.
So during the flood here in April, we used a community building at the 4-H fairgrounds, right? So that would be another, and then we also like to have like a church or some other larger facility. The fairgrounds worked really well, I think. And having another location, just in case there's something going on there, would also be really nice for us to have. So if you have suggestions about community centers or churches that in Shelby County that you think might be good, I'd love to have those, so we can circle back with them and see if they're interested. But yeah, that's what we do. Okay, that would be great. Yeah. So yeah, we look for a large enough location where we can set up a dormitory area, if we can, that's separate from the actual, the other things that are going on. Because ideally, it's nice to have a place where the public can come in, get a meal. Maybe they can stay with mom and dad, or maybe they want to sleep in a tent on their property or something like that, but they still need information. They need a hot meal, they need a shower, you know. So if you have a place where the community can come in, and then you can kind of separate the dormitory area, so that's private for the people who want to stay overnight, that's really nice for us to have. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Is there a minimum number of people that have to be displaced before you come down?
No, I think that's, we often open up a shelter and there's, 1 or 2 people that stay at it, or a half a dozen people who stay at it. You think there's a need, like if, let's say there's an apartment fire and you've got multiple units displaced, we're gonna bring our disaster action team here. We're gonna have a couple of volunteers on the ground that are talking to everybody, talking to the property management, and seeing, who's involved, who's likely, are people going back in, or they're not gonna go back in tonight? And then if not, then we're gonna set up a reception center, and if it's to move into a shelter, overnight shelter, then that's what we'll do.
You ever had to do with nursing homes or any of those?
So skilled nursing homes have to have an emergency evacuation plan. So what usually happens that's a little trickier are those independent senior living apartments. So those are, the word independent living is, the term is, it's kind of vague. And some people are more independent living than others in those situations, right? So, we had a senior apartment complex in Greensburg. And there's another one recently. So apartment complexes don't necessarily have to have the same kind of emergency plans that hospitals and nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities have to have, right? So they should have emergency plans that don't involve, because they have staff that they could set up somewhere else or bring people to other locations, that other skilled nursing facilities. But a senior apartment complex or something, we're going to be opening up a shelter for them. We do have most of our cots are those just, basic flat RV, cots. But we do have some that have a raised back, or like, kind of like a lounge chair or something, like a beach chair or something that, the back is raised. And we did that in Decatur County in Greensburg this spring. I think we had about 14 people or something like that. And we have enough of those cots in different locations that we could bring those in. So
They're higher, it's easier for them.
right, it isn't such to sit down, and then it does raise your back. And so then it's more comfortable to sleep and you're not sleeping flat.
They also.
So it's a weight limit of 350 or so. So it might not be a medical reason or but there just might be a physical reason why that cot might be a little sturdier for them. Easier to get in and out. So we do have those that we can bring as well. All of our trailers have 2 of those. And then, like I said, we have, in different storage units, we have more of us that we can bring.
So with this being the LEPC group,
Yeah.
we are going to be doing a full-scale exercise this fall, a tanker that's going to turn over and release anhydrous.
Okay.
If we would have that here in town, that would be something that if we start evacuating neighborhoods, that's when we would call you, correct?
That's right. Yep. The sooner the better. Yep. So, and then you would probably, in that situation, we would want you to kind of name where we would be, because you would know like what neighborhoods we should not be in and that kind of stuff. But we would find that, we would work together for a location, and then we can bring volunteers in to run a reception center, and then, an overnight shelter if needed. We did that in Richmond a couple of years ago. There was some kind of chemical leak or something in a neighborhood that had to be evacuated for 3 or 4 days at least.
Was it that big fire that was up
Maybe
there?
it was a fire.
The fire at the recycle center?
That was it. Yeah. So we were actually running a big tornado response during that. And it was like, and there was a big apartment fire in Indianapolis. And then there was, here's the recycling center. So yeah, we can do it. We learned we could do this. Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly what we could do.
How many personnel do you have in India?
Oh, in Indiana, I think there's probably over 800 volunteers. But we have over probably over 150 or so in the Southeast. We always need more volunteers, and we'll always take more volunteers. And to say that as well as in your community here, we're happy to come in and just do like a community-wide training, for sheltering or something, like if people want to learn how to set up a cot and, what are the basics about running a shelter, we'd be happy to come here and do that with, some partners like churches and the health department and all of y'all. So that would be great. More people who know how to do that and feel comfortable doing it, the better.
So how many counties did you say that?
We cover 25.
And out of the 150 volunteers, do you have at least one volunteer in every county or?
We have a few here in Shelby, but we only really have a couple. Our disaster action team, when we respond to fires, often comes from either Columbus or Johnson County. We have some volunteers that have also come from, is it Henry County?
Henry County,
Yeah.
Newcastle.
Yeah. So we have quite a few around you, but we don't have as many as we need to have here.
Would you try to get somebody that's local? Let's say that we do call you.
Sure, we're gonna
for a
send-
park fire like we had a
We're
couple
gonna
of years
send the
ago.
closest people we can.
Okay.
Yep, we absolutely do. So, yeah, and whoever we can, whoever's close is going to respond. So that's probably Johnson or Bartholomew. Our teams are bigger there. But we actually have some indicator too, so I know they've come up here too. That's, 30 minutes from Greensburg or something, right? You're pretty close. So I could drive 30 minutes and still be in Wright County, so that is very fun, Yeah. But if you have organizations or, anybody that would like to train to be a volunteer, we'd love to have. What else? Anything else? All right. You have a school going, yes.
Good deal. Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion of the exercise for 2025. As I stated earlier, it is the full scale. We did get the grant for it. The team that is working on getting it put together will have a meeting probably the end of February, or not February, end of July with Gary. He reached out to me this week. I told him we wouldn't wait till after the fair, so he reached out late last week about setting up our next meeting. We are slowly adding people to that team. We started out with the health department, the hospital, me. The last meeting, I do believe we bring law enforcement in on that one. Do you remember? Yep. And then this time we'll add a few more people to it that as we see fit. So everything's on board. Any questions about it? Yes, sir.
We know where it's gonna specifically happen at, and what highway or what road or what location.
Let's just say it's going to be here in Shelbyville. We are not allowed to, as the people who are planning it, we're not allowed to give too many details, but it will be here in Shelbyville. And it will be a tanker with anhydrous on it that's going to have an accident.
The reason why I'm asking is I'm in the industry,
Mhm.
and we have anhydrous on yet, so that's why I was asking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
So.
Park 100 Foods, correct?
Yeah, so if it was around, just let me know.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we always do our exercises with anhydrous, because we've got you up in Morristown. We've got Atlas there at the 109. We've got a few other places that have a high concentration of ammonia. It's just something that we have a lot of in this area. So it's something I think we need to make sure we know what to do when the time comes. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, and I did not write it. Is it September 25th? Yep. Yeah, I didn't put it on the notes, but yeah, September 25th. Starts at 9, will end at 3. We will be bringing in volunteers or from the Blue River Vocational School to act as victims, things of that nature. And then Melvin from Mel's Catering will be doing the lunch before we do our hot wash. So that's about all we're allowed to say, right, Kevin?
Yeah, now you put it on the minute, so. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Where does it say that on? Oh, and I'll have to say something to Chief about that. Okay, any other questions on the exercise? Once, Gary should have the flyer ready by the end of this week or next week, and we'll start distributing it out as well. Okay, next on the agenda is the roster update. As all of you know, my deputy director, Will White, left May 30th. It's his last day. Yesterday was my new deputy's first day. His name is Brad Spear. He was the Decatur County EMA director for 6 years. Had stepped down from that position and has moved over to us as my deputy. He is actually doing his HR paperwork, or he was going to be here today. But I need a motion to remove Will and to add Brad on the roster. Byers made the motion, Louis seconded. All in favor? Any abstentions? Okay. And then, yes, yeah, I've got that on here. The next one we need to do is, as all of you know, Kim Anderson is retired as the county highway superintendent. And Ben Taylor so graciously stepped up to that position. I think he sort of voluntold to do it. So we would like to remove Kim from the roster and add Ben as the primary for county highway. Robert Lewis. DeBon second. All in favor? Any opposed? That one's been passed. And then we need to remove Kevin Credit. Is that how you pronounce it? From the water treatment plant facility. I'm not sure their official new title. And in his place, we'd like to put, Shelley Higdon. Need a motion? DeBon. Have a second? Byers? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion has been passed. Okay, next on the agenda, any old business we need to discuss? Okay, any new business that needs to be brought up for the good of the cause?
You know, when the meeting gonna be for the next time, what year?
I do not. He's supposed to reach out. He actually reached out yesterday. I told him after today's meeting, I would call him and get it set up. Is there a date and time that works better for you guys?
You said the end of July, I mean. that's
Probably.
fine.
Okay, I didn't know if anybody was gonna be on vacation.
So it's on. Yeah,
You're on vacation until the 25th?
yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell him the 26th or later then. And it will probably be a virtual one. I don't think he's gonna come down for this one like he did the last one. Okay, okay. All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn by Buyer. Lewis is second. All in favor? Byers. Lewis was second.
Pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's nice to work with you. Yeah.